Hello guys, welcome to another virtual geography lesson. And today we're going to continue the topic of landscapes all around the world. And today's topic are deserts. Desert as such is an area where due to not favorable climate conditions, very few plants can grow. Somewhere there are absolutely no plants at all. It's the consequence of either insufficient rainfall in case of hot deserts or temperatures below 0 degrees through the whole year. And guys, I want you to open your books on page 127. And at the bottom of the page, you will see a map that is presenting the geographic location of hot deserts. And as you can see, there are a few in North and South America. There is quite a huge one in Australia. There is also one in Asia. There are no hot deserts in Europe at all, but there is the huge one, the biggest hot desert in the world, which is Sahara. And guys, on hot deserts, the annual precipitation sum is low, not exceeding 200 millimeters. The rain falls down rarely and irregularly, which means that it's possible that not a single drop of rain falls over a desert for a few years in a row. There are actually some places in South America that scientists suspect that no rain has fallen there for 2 million years. So guys, the precipitation is really low. This climatogram is for Algeria, which is located in North Africa, and this represents the climate of a hot desert. As you can see, the precipitation is really low, just a few millimeters. The annual sum of precipitation is 141 millimeters of rainfall. To compare it with Poland, the average rainfall throughout the year is around 500 to 600, and in wet years up to 1000 millimeters per year. During the day, the temperatures can exceed 40 degrees, and as you can see, the average temperature in July is over 30 degrees. But what happens on a desert is the fact that during the night the temperature drops below zero. This is why the average temperature for winter months, because we're on the northern hemisphere, they are quite low, which is below 15 degrees Celsius. So this means that there is frost on a hot desert because during the day the temperature can exceed temperature, let's mark it with T, can exceed 40 degrees Celsius, and at night the temperature can be smaller than 0 degrees Celsius, which basically means that the daily amplitude of temperature is over 40 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely insane. Like during the day, in the midday, you have 40 degrees, and in the same place, 12 hours later, you have -10. And guys, it is a common misconception that deserts are made out of sand. Only 20% of deserts are basically made of sand. The rest are made of gravel or rocks. And guys, on page 128, you have a picture, top part of the page, you have pictures of sandy desert and also gravel desert. And guys, types of deserts. Sandy ones, gravel ones, and rock ones. The sandy ones have their beautiful name, erg, ergs, basically in plural. The deserts that are made of gravel are called serifs, and the ones that are made of rocks are called hamadas. Guys, if it comes to plant and animal life, it's really limited and concentrated around oases. And let's draw a diagram here. Oasis is basically the place where there is water on the desert. And guys, it happens when the groundwater level is really close to the surface, so it becomes available for both plants and animals. So we have dunes, we have situation like this, so that's sand. And guys, but below every single place in the world, at some depth, there is the groundwater. And sometimes it happens that it's really close to the surface. And in this place, water might show up on the surface, and this will make the plants emerge. And this whole place is the oasis. Most of the animals that live on the desert, they spend their days hidden in the sand or in the holes in the ground. They are mostly nocturnal animals, and this is worth writing. Which means they are active at night. And that's pretty sensible because during the day the temperatures can be really, really high. And once the sun sets, it's getting colder. And why does it get colder during the night? Because there is no humidity. Water is capable of holding a lot of heat. And if there is no water, then there are no clouds. So the heat radiates back to the atmosphere really quickly. Guys, animals have adapted to those harsh conditions. Dromedaries, which are camels, use water stored on their humps on their back, garby na plecach, but they don't store pure water in them. They store fat, and from this fat they later obtain water. Some animals don't drink at all, they only use water from their food. Plants have their strategies as well. Let's take a look at this one. It's a cactus. And the cactuses have developed thorns. And now take a look at what's happening. Inside the cactus, there is plenty of parenchyma that is capable of holding liters of water. But on the outside, we have thorns. And basically, they prevent from evaporation because, as you remember, thorns are transformed to leaves, but they also protect the plant. And they protect the plant from being eaten. That's it. People don't live on deserts in large populations. Life is focused around oases, which grants access to groundwater, to water in general. If there are people living on a hot desert, then it would usually be focused around the oasis. Their houses would be built out of what can be found rock and clay, and basically, clay would be easily melted away by water, but there is no rainfall, so their houses are safe. If it comes to their living habits, some of them are nomads, which means that once we said about this before, they keep camels, they keep sheep, they keep goats, and they wander from place to place. In North Africa and Arabian Peninsula, they are called Bedouins. Po polsku Beduini. Okay, guys, so this is enough about the warm desert, hot desert, and now let's move to icy deserts. This is the climatogram from Yakutsk, the city that is located in the north of Russia, which is considered often as the coldest city to live in. And indeed, the warmest month is actually quite warm, around 18 degrees Celsius. But the coldest month, take a look in here, it's minus 40 something. So the warmest month is July with average temperature around, let's say 18 degrees Celsius, and the coldest month is January, which is minus 42 degrees. So the amplitude will be 18 degrees Celsius minus 42 degrees Celsius, which, as I'm reminding you, equals to 18 degrees Celsius plus 42 degrees Celsius, which is 60 degrees Celsius. This is the annual amplitude of a cold desert. This is insanity. Throughout the year, the conditions change so dramatically. The weather conditions are harsh for the whole year. Almost the whole year, the temperature is below zero and the wind is severe. And guys, I want you to open your books on page 130, and at the bottom of the page you have places where we have icy deserts. So the biggest ones, the biggest location of icy deserts are located in polar climate zone, and this is Arctic, which is basically Arctic Ocean plus islands located there in the north, and Antarctic, which is Southern Ocean with islands and the continent of Antarctica. So those are the regions where icy deserts can be found. There is not much of a precipitation during the year. The sum is 246, in this case in Yakutsk, 246 millimeters per year, but this is not much, and in most of the cases it's in the form of snow. On both poles there are polar days and polar nights. They happen when the sun doesn't set in this case, or the sun doesn't rise in this case, for more than 24 hours. So the day or the night lasts more than 24 hours, precisely on the north and the south poles. Polar day lasts 6 months, and then the polar night lasting for 6 months comes in. The biggest land of icy deserts are covered with glaciers. Lodowiec, lądolud. Guys, this is the layer of ice covering the ground. Nothing can grow here because the ice is a few kilometers thick. Only at the edges of the glaciers there are some plants that are able to cope it, but plants are very limited. Mosses and lichens only. Nothing bigger can grow. If it comes to animals, mostly aquatic animals such as seals, whales, but also birds, and I'm talking about penguins right here. An animal that lives both on land, in water, and on ice is polar bear. And now remember, guys, here we have north, here we have south, and remember this. Polar bears live in Arctica, in the Arctic region, and penguins, they live on the other hemisphere. So polar bears and penguins, they never meet in natural conditions. Remember this. Guys, if it comes to people, there are no inhabitants on the poles themselves. The only people that temporarily live there are scientists in the scientific bases, especially in the bases on the south, on Antarctica, and many countries have their scientific bases in Antarctica because the scientific research is taking place there. In Arctic, people live only in areas that are not covered with glacier. So shores of Greenland, please take a look at the map on page 130. Next to the word Nord, there is the island of Greenland, and also Svalbard Islands, which belong technically to Norway, and they are tiny islands north of Norway, and people live here, but not many of them. Inhabitants of Greenland are called usually Inuits. Inuici. Okay, guys, so this is it for today. I want you to be able to characterize the climate of both hot and cold desert. So remember what the temperature looks like on a hot desert and that the precipitation is low. And remember that what the temperature looks like in a cold desert that is mostly below zero. I want you to be able to tell where the bears live and where penguins live. And guys, I want you to also be able to tell a little bit about plants and animals that live in both cold and warm deserts. So guys, this is it for today. Please carefully read the instruction that I have attached to this post and stay home and stay safe.